Have you ever felt like you're sinking into a kind of darkness you can't quite explain? A sadness without a clear reason. A constant sense of anxiety, even when everything around you seems fine. Your mind keeps repeating negative thoughts, and your heart feels so heavy that even taking the next step feels impossible. Somewhere in the fast pace of modern life, there are so many people silently struggling with anxiety and depression. No one sees it. No one truly understands it. But there's something we often forget. For more than 1,500 years, the teachings of the Buddha, what we call the Dharma, have offered timeless guidance, not just for monks or scholars, but for anyone searching for peace in the midst of suffering. You don't have to follow a religion. You don't need to perform any rituals. All it takes is a willingness to listen, with that same tired heart that's been quietly asking for relief. In this video, we'll explore 9 teachings from the Buddha that can help you gently face, understand, and begin to heal from anxiety and depression through mindfulness, compassion, and inner awareness. So now, take a seat. Let your shoulders soften. Take a slow, deep breath. And let's begin. Teaching 1. The mind is the source of all suffering. Of all the things we face in this life, pain, loss, fear, perhaps the most powerful, and yet the most misunderstood, is our own mind. The Buddha once said, "Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief. They are all mind-made." What does this mean? It means that everything we experience, joy, sorrow, fear, peace, doesn't come from the world outside of us. It comes from how our mind perceives and reacts to it. Think about it. 2 people can go through the exact same event, but one finds peace while the other suffers deeply. Why? Because of how their mind responds. It's not the situation, it's the interpretation. When anxiety strikes, it's usually not the present moment that causes pain. It's the stories the mind begins to spin. What if I fail? What if something goes wrong? I can't handle this. I'm not good enough. And the mind believes these thoughts. It clings to them. It builds a world around them. And suddenly, we're trapped in a prison of our own making. The Buddha understood this long ago. He taught that suffering, dukkha, doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from within, from the way we attach to thoughts, identities, desires, fears. But this is not a message of blame. It's a message of empowerment. Because if the mind creates suffering, then the mind can also create freedom. That's why in Buddhism, the practice begins not with trying to fix the world, but with observing the mind, gently, patiently, with mindfulness. Just watch your thoughts. Don't fight them. Don't believe every one of them. Just notice them arise and pass. You are not your thoughts. You are the one watching them. The more we see this, the more space we create inside ourselves. And in that space, healing begins. So if today you're feeling overwhelmed, if your thoughts are racing, spiraling, crashing into each other, take one breath and simply ask, what is my mind doing right now? That one question can bring you back to awareness. It's the first step toward peace. As the Buddha taught, with our thoughts, we make the world. So let's begin to make a world within ourselves that is calmer, clearer, and more compassionate. One breath, one thought, one moment at a time. Teaching 2. Everything is impermanent, even your pain. There's a simple truth the Buddha taught, one that many of us resist, yet it holds the key to deep inner freedom. All conditioned things are impermanent. In Pali, the word is anicca, impermanence. Everything arises, and everything passes away. It sounds obvious. We see it in nature. The seasons change, flowers bloom and wither, day becomes night. But when it comes to our emotions, especially pain, we forget. We believe our suffering will last forever. That this anxiety, this grief, this heaviness in our chest is permanent. But it's not. Close your eyes for a moment and think back to a time in your life when you were struggling deeply. Something that once felt unbearable. Now look at you. You're still here. That moment passed. It always does. This is the nature of all phenomena. Emotions, thoughts, relationships, even our identity. They're like clouds in the sky, appearing, shifting, and dissolving. But the sky itself, your awareness, remains untouched. So when we feel overwhelmed by anxiety or depression, the first thing to remember is, this is not forever. This is a wave, and it will pass. The Buddha never said life would be free of suffering, but he did teach that suffering is not fixed. It's not your essence. Pain arises due to causes and conditions, and when those change, the pain too will dissolve. The problem is, we often cling to the very things that hurt us, because they're familiar, or because we're afraid of the unknown. We replay painful stories in our heads. We identify with sadness, saying, I am depressed, instead of, I am feeling depressed. One is permanent. The other allows space. Through mindfulness, we begin to notice how emotions come and go, like waves lapping at the shore. Sometimes strong, sometimes gentle, but never still, never fixed. When you observe your thoughts with this understanding, you begin to unhook yourself from them. You stop struggling with pain as if it defines you. Instead, you watch it rise and fall. So the next time sadness shows up, greet it like a passing visitor, not a permanent resident. You can say, hello, I see you. Stay as long as you need, but I know you will leave. This attitude of calm observation, vipassana, or insight, helps us experience life without being controlled by it. It creates a gentle space inside where we can breathe, where we can rest, where we can heal. Because in the end, everything changes. Your thoughts, your emotions, even the darkest night eventually gives way to dawn. So when the pain feels unbearable, hold on to this one truth. This too shall pass. Not as a slogan, but as a lived experience. One that the Buddha realized and left behind for us to remember again and again. Teaching 3. Letting go is the path to freedom. There's a quiet truth in the Buddha's teachings, one that challenges how we've been taught to live. Letting go gives us freedom, and freedom is the only condition for happiness. We live in a world that tells us to hold on. Hold on to success. Hold on to relationships. Hold on to how things should be. We cling, not just to what we love, but also to what hurts us. We replay conversations that wounded us. We carry regrets like stones in our chest. We grip tightly to who we used to be or who we think we should become, and yet, the more we hold on, the heavier it all becomes. The Buddha called this attachment upadana. It's one of the roots of suffering, not the pain itself, but our refusal to let it move through us. We resist what is. We grasp at control. We fear change. But the truth is, everything in life is fluid. No emotion, no person, no identity is fixed. Trying to cling to what must eventually change only deepens our suffering. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we release the tightness in our heart. We stop fighting what we cannot control. Ask yourself gently, what am I holding on to right now? An old pain? A memory of being wronged? The idea that I must always be strong? Can you set it down, just for a moment? Letting go is not a one-time act. It's a practice, sometimes daily, sometimes moment by moment. It's a softening, a loosening of the grip. It's trusting that life will continue, even if you're no longer forcing it to go your way. In meditation, we practice this by watching the breath. When thoughts arise, we notice them, then let them pass, like leaves floating down a stream. No judgment, no chasing, just presence and release. And with time, that practice starts to show up in your daily life. You start to let go of needing approval, of needing to be perfect, of needing to fix everything. You begin to rest, not in control, but in trust. Because freedom isn't found in getting more. It's found in needing less, in holding life loosely, with open hands and an open heart. So if something is weighing on you today, if your chest feels tight from carrying too much for too long, pause, take a breath, and say to yourself, I choose to let go. It might not all release at once. That's okay. Even loosening your grip just a little is the beginning of peace. Teaching 4. Mindfulness is the key to peace. There's a reason the Buddha spoke of mindfulness, not once, not twice, but over and over again. Because no matter what you're facing, no matter how lost, anxious, or overwhelmed you feel, mindfulness is the doorway back to peace. In Pali, the word is sati. It means awareness, presence, remembrance. To be mindful is not just to notice what's happening. It's to be fully here, with your body, your breath, your thoughts, your emotions, without running away. The Buddha taught, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. When we are present, we are alive. When we are distracted, lost in past regret or future fear, we suffer. Think about how often the mind leaves the present. You're sitting in your room, but your thoughts are replaying a conversation from 3 years ago, or worrying about something that might happen tomorrow. You're breathing, but not aware of it. You're walking, but not feeling your feet touch the ground. You're alive, but you're not here. And in that disconnection, anxiety grows. Because the mind, when left unchecked, becomes like a wildfire, jumping from fear to fear, doubt to doubt, story to story. Mindfulness is what brings us back. Back to this breath, back to this moment, back to what is actually happening, not the story about it. It doesn't mean you need to sit cross-legged in silence for hours. It means, can you wash the dishes? And just wash the dishes? Can you listen to your own heartbeat and not rush to fix it or judge it? Can you feel a painful thought arise and simply observe it without becoming it? This is the heart of Buddhist practice, to witness your experience, moment by moment, without clinging or aversion. Through mindfulness, we see clearly. Pain arises. We notice it. We breathe with it. We do not become it. And just like a wave that has been seen and accepted, it begins to soften, settle, pass. Peace is not something you chase. It's something you return to. It's always been there, beneath the noise, but only when we slow down enough to notice. So if your mind is racing today, if you feel scattered, tense, exhausted, pause. Place one hand on your chest. Feel the rise and fall of your breath. Feel the body you live in. Feel this moment, not the next one. This is mindfulness. This is your sanctuary. As the Buddha said, a disciplined mind brings happiness. And mindfulness is how we train that mind. Gently, consistently, with compassion. You don't need to fix everything. You just need to be here. And in being here, you begin to heal. Teaching 5. Purify your actions, speech, and thoughts. There's a deep wisdom in the Buddha's path, not just in how we sit or how we breathe, but in how we live, how we speak, how we act, how we think. The Buddha taught that if we want peace, not just temporary relief, but lasting inner peace, We must begin by purifying the roots of our life. That means our actions, our speech, and our thoughts must come into alignment with compassion, truth, and clarity. This is the essence of sila, moral discipline, not as rules to obey, but as a foundation for freedom. Because when our actions are harmful, when our words are careless, when our thoughts are filled with judgment, envy, or aggression, we create ripples of suffering, not just for others, but for ourselves. Think about it. When you lie, you carry the weight of that lie. When you lash out in anger, that energy lives in your body. When you hold resentment, it poisons your own heart. So purifying our life is not about being perfect. It's about creating conditions in which the mind can truly rest. The Buddha gave us the 5 precepts as a guide, not commandments, but commitments to a more peaceful way of being. To refrain from killing, not just others, but also our own joy, our own worthiness. To refrain from stealing, not just possessions, but time, trust, attention. To refrain from sexual misconduct, from using desire in a way that causes harm. To refrain from false speech, gossip, lies, harsh words. To refrain from intoxicants, not just alcohol or drugs, but anything that clouds our clarity, obsession, distraction, greed. And beyond these, we watch our thoughts. Because even unspoken thoughts shape the world we live in. Are we dwelling in anger? Are we feeding fear? Are we quietly judging ourselves or others? The Buddha said, "Whatever a person frequently thinks and ponders upon, that will become the inclination of their mind." So every thought matters, not because we must be rigid, but because every thought plants a seed. With mindfulness, we begin to notice, when am I speaking from love, and when from ego? When is my action rooted in generosity, and when in fear? And little by little, we shift. Not through force, but through awareness. Not through guilt, but through understanding. When our actions become kind, our mind becomes lighter. When our speech becomes honest, our heart becomes freer. When our thoughts become spacious, our life becomes a sanctuary. So today, ask yourself, how can I move through this world with more integrity? How can I speak with more care? How can I purify my inner life, not to impress anyone, but to be at peace with myself? This is the path of awakening, not dramatic, not flashy, but steady, intentional, and real. As the Buddha taught, just as a solid rock is not shaken by the storm, even so the wise are not affected by praise or blame. That steadiness comes from a life aligned in thought, word, and deed. Not perfect, but sincere. And from that sincerity, peace begins. Teaching 6. No one saves us but ourselves. There's a sentence in the Buddha's teachings that is both empowering and confronting. No one saves us but ourselves. No one can and no one may. We ourselves must walk the path. At first, it can sound harsh, because we live in a world that often teaches us to look outward, to wait for someone to rescue us, to hope that healing will come from a relationship, a teacher, a guru, a perfect moment. But the Dharma points us inward. The Buddha didn't say, "I will save you." He said, "I point the way, but you must walk it." And that's the heart of this teaching. We are not powerless. We are not broken. We already have within us the capacity to wake up. Not someday, not when life becomes easier, but now. This doesn't mean we walk alone. The Sangha, our spiritual community, supports us. The teachings light the path, but the step must be ours. Every time you sit in silence, even for a minute, every time you pause before reacting, every time you choose kindness over anger, awareness over distraction, forgiveness over blame, you are walking that path. And the path doesn't require perfection. It requires intention. The willingness to turn toward your own mind, even when it's messy, loud, or afraid. Because no one knows your suffering better than you, and no one can touch your freedom for you. You are the only one who can truly heal your heart, the only one who can uproot your fear. In Buddhism, we call this karma, action. You inherit your own karma, not as punishment, but as power. Your choices matter. Your effort matters. You're not at the mercy of fate. You're shaping your life moment by moment. And that's not a burden. That's liberation. The Buddha was not a savior. He was a guide. He showed us that liberation is possible, but never imposed it. So if you're waiting for someone to fix your life, pause and realize you are the one you've been waiting for. When you take responsibility, not from guilt, but from love, everything begins to shift. You stop blaming, you stop waiting, and you start returning, again and again, to the one place you have power, this moment. This is not the easy path, but it is the true one. As the Dhammapada says, by oneself is evil done, by oneself is one defiled, by oneself is evil left undone, by oneself is one purified. Purity and impurity depend on oneself. No one can purify another. So if you want peace, if you want freedom, begin here. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to take one step, and then another, and slowly, steadily, you become your own refuge. Teaching 7. Compassion for yourself is the first step to healing. There's a quiet suffering that many of us carry, not from what others have done to us, but from how we treat ourselves. We blame ourselves. We criticize every flaw. We replay our mistakes again and again, as if punishment could somehow lead to healing. But the Buddha taught something radically different. You yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and affection. This is compassion, karuna in Pali. And before you can extend it outward, you must learn to offer it inward. Because how can you truly love others if you quietly hate yourself? How can you be present for another's pain if you constantly push your own away? In Buddhism, compassion is not weakness. It's strength. The strength to hold suffering without collapsing into it. The courage to stay with your own pain, not to fix it, but to tend to it. And healing begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. So many of us live with an inner voice that is harsher than any enemy. You're not enough. You should have known better. You'll never change. But ask yourself, has that voice ever brought you peace? Has it ever truly helped you grow? Now imagine a different voice, one that says, it's okay to struggle. You've suffered enough. You are doing your best. This is self-compassion, not as an idea, but as a daily practice. In meditation, we often use phrases from metta bhavana, or loving-kindness meditation. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I be free from suffering. At first, it might feel strange, even uncomfortable, because we're so used to withholding love from ourselves. But over time, something begins to soften. The walls come down. The tension in the chest loosens. The shame begins to lift. And in that space, healing begins. Compassion doesn't mean making excuses. It means telling the truth without judgment. It means saying, yes, I've been hurt. Yes, I've made mistakes. And still, I am worthy of love. It means holding yourself like you would a dear friend, not because you've earned it, but because being human is enough. So if you're carrying pain today, if your heart is heavy with guilt, regret, or self-hate, pause. Place a hand on your heart. Feel your own breath. And whisper to yourself, I see you. I'm here with you. And you are not broken. This is not indulgence. This is not selfishness. This is the beginning of real peace. As the Buddha said, hatred does not cease by hatred, but only by love. This is the eternal law. That includes self-hatred. Only self-love can quiet it. And so today, let compassion be your first step. Not someday, not when you've healed, but now, because you are already enough. And healing begins when you finally believe that. Teaching 8. Meditation nourishes the mind. There is a kind of nourishment the body cannot give. A stillness, a clarity, a quiet strength that comes only from within. The Buddha knew this well. He left behind a palace of comforts to sit beneath a tree and look into the mind. Why? Because meditation, bhavana in Pali, doesn't just calm us, it transforms us. It is how we train the mind to see clearly, to rest deeply, and to wake up. We eat to nourish the body. We sleep to rest the body. But what do we offer the mind? Often, just more noise, more screens, more worry, more distractions. And the mind, like a body starved of nutrition, begins to weaken. Overthinking, anxiety, restlessness, confusion. But meditation is the food of the mind. It strengthens attention. It calms the nervous system. It clears the fog of endless thought. The Buddha said, as irrigators guide water, as fletchers straighten arrows, as carpenters shape wood, so the wise shape the mind. And that shaping begins in stillness. Meditation isn't about stopping thoughts. It's about changing your relationship with them. You sit, you breathe, you notice, thoughts arise, and you don't chase them. Emotions come, and you don't push them away. You simply watch, and in that watching you begin to see, this is anger, but I am not anger. This is fear, but I am not fear. This is sadness, but I am not broken. And something deeper than thought starts to shine through. Peace. Meditation brings you back to the present moment, to the breath, to the body, to now. And here's the truth. The present moment is never as painful as the story you tell about it. The breath is never anxious. The body is never in the future. Only the mind races there. So, in meditation, we return, again and again, to the simplicity of now. It may feel boring at first, uncomfortable, restless. But just as the body resists exercise when it's out of shape, the mind resists stillness when it's been overstimulated. Stay with it. Even a few minutes a day begins to rewire the brain, begins to soften the heart, begins to anchor you in something real. You don't need to sit perfectly. You don't need to stop thinking. You just need to be willing to be with yourself without running away. That willingness, that's meditation. And over time, you'll notice you're less reactive, more grounded, more kind, more awake. The Buddha meditated not to escape life, but to meet it fully. And through meditation, we learn to do the same. So if your mind feels tired, if your heart feels overwhelmed, sit, breathe, just for a few moments. Give your mind the nourishment it longs for. Not distraction, not stimulation, but silence, awareness, peace. This is the practice. This is the nourishment. And this is the path. Teaching 9. Every being has the capacity for awakening. Every single being you see, every person, every animal, every living thing, carries within them an incredible potential. The Buddha taught that all beings have the capacity for awakening, Bodhi. This is not some distant, unreachable ideal reserved for monks or sages. It is the fundamental truth of our existence. No matter your background, your mistakes, your struggles, the seed of awakening lies quietly inside you. Awakening means seeing the world and yourself clearly, beyond the illusions of pain, fear, and ego. It means living with wisdom, compassion, and freedom. The path of awakening is like a lotus flower, rising from the mud. Your suffering, your confusion, your doubt. They are not obstacles, but the very soil from which your growth begins. The Buddha said, "Just as a goldsmith hammers and polishes gold to bring out its beauty, so the practitioner hammers and polishes the mind to reveal its true nature." That true nature is pure, luminous, and awake. Every step you take on the path, whether small or large, is a movement toward this awakening. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have all the answers. You only need to remember your own capacity. When you practice mindfulness, loving kindness, and wisdom, you water the seed within. You help it grow stronger, clearer, brighter. And even in moments of darkness, that seed remains alive. The Buddha's message is one of hope and possibility. He taught that awakening is not about escaping the world, but about embracing it with open eyes and an open heart. So wherever you are on your journey, know this. You are capable of awakening. You are capable of freedom. You are capable of peace. This is your birthright, and the path is always open to you. All beings share this potential. All beings are connected by this truth. Let this inspire you to keep moving forward with patience, courage, and compassion. Because awakening is not just for the few, it is for all, and it begins here. It begins now. Thank you for joining me on this journey through these profound teachings of the Buddha, teachings that offer us guidance, hope, and practical tools to face anxiety and depression with wisdom and compassion. Remember, the path of Dharma is not about perfection or quick fixes. It's about practice, a daily commitment to returning to the present moment, to kindness, and to awakening. Each teaching we explored today, from understanding the mind as the source of suffering, to embracing impermanence, to cultivating self-compassion and mindfulness, these are invitations to transform how we relate to our pain and ourselves. If any part of this video resonated with you, I encourage you to carry these teachings gently in your heart. Try practicing meditation, or remind yourself that healing begins within. Allow compassion to be your guide. If you found value here, please take a moment to like this video. It helps others discover these teachings too. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. Your voice might inspire someone else who needs to hear this message. And if you want to walk this path together, please subscribe to the channel. We'll continue exploring more Dharma teachings, meditation practices, and reflections that support your journey toward peace and freedom. Remember the Buddha's words, "With our thoughts, we make the world." May your thoughts be gentle. May your heart be open. And may your mind find stillness. Thank you for being here. May you be well. May you be happy. May you be free from suffering. I look forward to seeing you in the next video, where we will continue this journey together. Until then, take care and be at peace.